It's now 6:30. I'd like to call to order the Regional Planning Commission and Business Meeting for Thursday, July the 8th, 2021. And as is customary, I'm going to have Commissioner Karcher lead us in the pledge. Thank you, Denise. Now we'll have a roll call and determination of quorum. Sarah, please.
Mr. Peterman?
Here.
Mr. Servon?
Here.
Mrs. Karcher?
Here.
Mr. Mills?
Here.
Mr. Spanarelli?
Here.
Mr. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Jester?
Here.
So you have 7 present. You do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Welcome all the commissioners tonight, and thank you for attending. Now we look at our agenda. Is there any additions, deletions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Call the commission, please.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes.
Mr. Servon?
Yes.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes.
Mr. Spanarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
So you have 7 yeas in favor of approving tonight's agenda.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, you all have in front of you the minutes for May the 13th, 2021. I assume you've read them and looked at them. Is there any additions or corrections? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt them.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes.
Mr. Servon?
Yes.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes.
Mr. Spanarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
So you have 7 yeas in favor of approving the minutes of May 13th.
Once again, I thank you so much. Next, we have on the agenda list the levy court action on commissioner recommendations. If you have any questions about those, please see staff at the end of tonight's meeting. We're now moving into the new business. First on the new business tonight is AP-21-03, Dempsey Farms, Number 2 District. Request approval of the creation of an agricultural preservation district located outside the growth zone overlay district. There wasn't anybody last year, but as customarily, these are things that we completely support. So I will now ask Mr. Mills if he'll read the motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I was not present last week. I did see the entire video, and I feel confident I can vote appropriately.
Thank you, Commissioner Karcher. We understand. Thank you very much. Mr. Mills.
I move that the regional planning, I'm sorry, let me just back up a little bit. AP-21-03 Dempsey Farms District 2. Motion, I move that the Regional Planning Commission grant approval of the application of AP-21-03 to create an agricultural preservation district located outside of the growth zone overlay district. This is based on the recommendations of the Agricultural Preservation Board and the staff recommendation report dated July 1, 2021.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Sarah, please call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Servon?
Yes to approve.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes.
Mr. Spanarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Jester?
Yes, to approve. It's always a pleasure to see people dedicating their farm to preservation.
So you have 7 yeas in favor of granting approval of application AP-2103.
Thank you very much. Moving on to our second application, AP-21-04, Big Ditch Farm District. Request approval of a creation of an agricultural preservation district located outside the growth zone overlay district. They also were not here, but as we customarily do, we support them. So I'll now ask for a motion for this particular application. Mr. Mills, go ahead again if you'd like.
AP-21-04 Big Ditch Farm District. Motion, I move the Regional Planning Commission grant approval of the application AP-21-04 to create an agricultural preservation district located outside of the Growth Zone Overlay District. This is based on the recommendations of the Agricultural Preservation Board and the staff recommendation report dated July 1, 2021.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Sarah, please call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Servon?
Yes to approve.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Mills?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Spanarelli?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Davis?
Yes to approve.
And Mr. Jester?
Yes, once again to approve.
So you have 7 yeas in favor of granting approval of application AP 2104.
Thank you very much, and good luck with both of their projects. Now we'll move down to the third application on our new business. It's Z-21-02/LC21-10 MKJ Properties, LLC. Request to amend the zoning map from AC, Agriculture Conservation, to BN, Neighborhood Business, located inside the Growth Zone Overlay District. We had a very informative and questionable night for those in favor and those opposed. I think everybody got their point across very well. So now I'll call the commission and ask who would like to make the motion. Mr. Davis, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move that the Regional Planning Commission recommend approval of ordinance LC 21-10 MKL Properties, LLC, to amend the zoning map from AC, Agricultural Conservation, to BN Neighborhood Business, located inside the Growth Overlay Zone. This is based on the staff recommendation report dated July the 1st, 2021, the public hearing testimony dated July 1, 2021, and the findings of the fact that A, the proposed zoning district change from AC to BN comports with the land use strategy of the 2018 Comprehensive Plan. B, adequate infrastructure is available or planned to serve the development on the site. And C, neighborhood commercial zoning would allow smaller scale non-residential uses such as general retail shopping and personal services that would be compatible with the surrounding residential use. Neighborhood commercial uses are meant to complement and support residential developments and should not adversely impact the low-density residential area nature of the area. Thank you.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion. I have a second. Sarah, call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
I'm familiar with this area, and I heard all the testimonies last week, and I can appreciate every one of them. But the county has really done its homework on this, and I'm familiar with the area, and I talked to some other people that's familiar with the area, and I don't see where this is going to change the character of the neighborhood at all. So I'm voting yes to approve.
Mr. Servon?
I vote yes to approve.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes, I vote yes to approve, just because the fact that I wasn't here, but I did listen to it, and I think everyone gave wonderful testimony. Had I not been able to listen to everybody's discussion, and I just looked at the paperwork, I really, I was going back and forth. I think that what really made me comfortable is when I heard the applicant's lawyer speak about the restrictions that were discussed with members, in the surrounding area, but that are agreed upon. And I think that was really gave me a lot of comfort in voting yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Spanarelli?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Davis?
Yes, per my motion, but I would like to just say a few comments. I know that the neighborhood was definitely against this for various reasons, primarily because of the traffic issues and people going in and out. I feel that the county has been moving toward developments that have services close by. I know that's the strategy of the state planning office, is to have growth. They establish this growth area, and basically that's exactly what it is. It is a growth area. However, having said that, when you have growth, you need services. We've heard testimony from the developer that he was not going to put a gas station there, and I'll take the gentleman for his word. It's kind of a difficult decision in one respect. I always try to listen to the public, but at the same time, I have to look at what the county ordinance says. It is authorized. It's been approved in the past. It's in a comprehensive plan. And I look at it from another way. Should there not be a business there, you could potentially have a bunch of apartment houses. And when you talked about it last week with the traffic issues, you could have 10 times the amount of traffic going and coming 24 hours a day. Whatever business this gentleman puts in there, I'm quite sure it's going to be a respectable business, but stores don't stay open all night long. The gas stations do, but I don't think this is going to be the case here. So I think in the long run it will work out. I have to do what is right, and I have to do what the Kent County Ordinance and State Planning Office looks at for down in the future. Thank you.
Mr. Jester?
I also vote yes, and you in the audience that might be a little disappointed by this change got to understand that the road being located and the traffic circle being built, this does not mean that it's the end of your input to this project, because as they come out with site plans and all like that, you'll be able to address the looks of the area and how it's done, but I think you're going to see a significant improvement by the road being located and the traffic circle over there, and I do vote yes.
So we have 7 yeas in favor of recommending approval of ordinance LC 2110.
Thank you very much. Good luck with your project. Next on the agenda tonight is Woodside Dollar General. Application and title is S-21-01, Woodside Dollar General. Applicant is PTV 1181 LLC, 400 Pensec Center Boulevard, Building 4, Suite 1000, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania 15235. Owner is Rowan Boulevard 1 LLC, 150 Onyx Drive, Kennett Square, Pennsylvania 19348. Engineer is J. Michael Riemann, Becker Morgan Group Incorporated, 309 South Governors Avenue, Dover, Delaware 19904. Additional contact is a Jonathan H. Street, Becker Morgan Group Incorporated, 309 South Governors Avenue, Dover, Delaware 19904. Comprehensive plan map designation is presently highway commercial area. Present zoning district is BG, general business. Relation to gross zone is inside. Present use, parcel 21.00 is vacant lot. Parcel 22.00 is residential. Proposed use is retail store, Dollar General. Proposed building side is 9,100 square feet. Number of parking spaces required 67. Proposed 34. Variance pending. Additional information on it is water is on-site well. Sewer is on-site septic. Levy Court District is 5th, Mr. Sweeney. School District is Cesar Rodney. Fire District is Station 41, Camden, Wyoming. Area and location, 2.1848 plus or minus acres. Combined, located in the South DuPont Highway, approximately 608 feet north of the intersection with Walnut Shade Road, east of the town of Woodside. The Commissioners, you've had time to look at this, and customarily we don't take any people at the mic and all, but if you have any questions, I'm assuming the engineer's here. Does anybody have any questions about this? Or do we need to have somebody come and talk about it? Is there somebody here from, they're on the line? Okay, I guess you go ahead and give your name and who you are on the line, and we'll go from there.
This is Jonathan Street. This is Jonathan Street with Becker Morgan. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you have a little background noise. I don't know if you have something else turned on that needs to be turned off or not.
I'm getting that background noise as well. I'm not sure why there is background noise. Can you hear me clearly though?
Yeah, hold on a minute. Mark, can you turn it up just a little bit?
Sure, hang on one second.
Yeah, we can hear you. I think Mr. Davis has a beginning question for you.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I just have a question. I believe I understand it, but I just need kind of get clarification. Looking at the drawing, it appears that you're going to have a de-acceleration lane off of US 13 into the site, and it looks like you're going to have a right turn coming out. Am I reading that correctly?
If I can,
I didn't hear you. What did you say?
can you hear me? They have muted me, but I think they've unmuted me now. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Mark, is there any way to clear it up, or is it on his end?
Yes, what I could ask if anyone's on the line, if you're on the phone, if you can make sure any of your background noise is lowered. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm by myself in a room. There's no noise around me.
Okay, you could proceed, Mr.
Are
Street.
you still? Okay, thank you. First, I want to answer your question, sir. That there is what will probably be a proposed right turn lane onto the site, and some additional potential widening on the south side of the site coming out of the site, as shown on the plans.
Well, I really like that. I live across the road from it, and I've often said that there should be a right turn in to going into that small shopping center. In my opinion, to cut 50% of the traffic that comes off of Walnut Shade Road. A lot of confusion. So I'm really happy to see this design, and I hope they do follow through. And it appears that you're going to have a road or an entrance into the adjacent shopping center or strip mall. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And commissioners, if I may give a brief, just a brief 2-second rundown of the project itself. What's proposed actually is a 10,640 square foot building. The agenda, I think, calls that 100 square foot building. That's a typical Dollar General. This one is a tick larger, but staff's report actually references the correct square footage of the building itself. What you have before you is a Dollar General located just there on the north side of Woodside Light. We'll have full entrance improvements in accordance with DelDOT. We have yet to meet with them, but we're what we show on the plan is kind of our typical based on what we have previously done with DelDOT for similar stores and similar traffic patterns. There is a connection to the south to the neighboring commercial parcel. That's been worked out, and we'll be providing a two-way access from our site onto their site as well. And if you will permit me, I'd like to go through staff's recommendations. We have one or two comments, and we just want to address a few things about staff's recommendations on the report, if you'll permit me.
Yeah, that'll be fine. Go ahead with your comments.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, sir. So the first recommendation is discusses the compliance with the 2018 comp plan about interconnection of the parcels. As you can see, we are complying with that to the south, as there is an existing business there. We are planning for that connection. Staff has asked you to recommend, in anticipation of some other development going to the north of us, for us also to provide interconnection from the parcel that is in question tonight to the north. However, there is no planned development to the north, and I believe Mr. Siput is on the phone as well from the developer. We are requesting that not be applied, that the north connection not be applied to the project, as there is no plan right now for our project to design our entrance to eliminate that entrance that I believe it's called Tri Supply. It's a distribution business on the north side of us. We would have to eliminate that entrance. We would have to design our entrance to accommodate all of that traffic. And as there is no planned development right now, we would request that be eliminated from the recommendations for the connection to the north. We're happy to do the connection to the south and plan for it, but to add the traffic to our entrance for the connection to the north is just not foreseeable at this time because there is no planned development at this time. The second is staff is requesting that a monument sign be used in place of, I believe what we show on the plan is a pylon sign. The pylon sign still meets county code. It's not necessarily the sign itself isn't part of this application that would be applied for separately. But we feel a pylon sign is a little bit safer. On the roadway, it's a single pole protected by 4 bollards typically, which also clears up your sight lines turning onto the highway there. And to construct a monument sign, we feel is a little bit more impactful with regard to sight lines as far as watching for oncoming traffic. At the same time, traffic running off the road and potentially hitting that sign. It's a little bit easier to hit a 4x8 sheet of plywood than it is a pole. So we would request that the pylon sign be allowed for the project. My understanding, talking with Mr. Sidefoot, the developer, has been chatting. They've been talking with staff here about recommendation number 3 as far as the architecturals. And my understanding, and Ben and Ms. Kiefer, I believe, is there. If she would like to chime in, she can feel free, is that I think they have come to an understanding of what the architecturals will look like for the building or can look like.
Yes. Yep,
and I believe that's what you're seeing now. So I think that satisfies staff's third recommendation.
Yeah, I think that's much better than that other building that you had previously shown, and it gives a more better appearance to the area around it.
Yeah, we're proposing the sides of the building to be upgraded as well. I think I see them on those other tabs there too.
You're saying we have side pictures there?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. That's what the sides would look like that, and then the previous picture would look like what you were previously looking at. And I spoke with Jason Berry a couple times. They feel that meets the intent of what was discussed in the staff report.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah, that looks much better in breaking that up.
Awesome.
Before you go any further, I'm going to ask the commissioners about any kind of questions they have here also. On any other commissioners have any other questions, and either on the phone or here in person have any questions for this particular engineer? Mr. Davis once again.
This is indirectly, I guess, connected to this. Is there any discussion about hooking the county sewer up this store in addition to the other stores down there? Has there been any discussion about that? Or are you going to have a septic system in the back like the other places have?
As far as I know right now, we are planning for a septic system. This is not in the county sewer district. Sewer is not available for the site, and I believe the retail center just to the south of us is actually, I think they're a contract user for the county, but county sewer does not extend to our parcel or these 2 parcels north of that site.
I bring that up because 8 years ago, the county had plans to put sewer down there for all 4 businesses on the corner. And in order for that to work, they had to have the agreement by all 4 parties. And out of the four, three of them agreed, one of them did not. So it fell apart. So when you look behind Walgreens, they have a gigantic septic system, and so I don't know. I was just kind of curious if there's been any discussion, because at one time the county did have an interest in doing that, and I'm quite sure down the road there's going to be something next door, which would be next to the tractor place. So I was just curious during the discussion process if this ever came up, if you had an interest in putting a septic or not a septic, but a sewer system to the county, and see if the county would be willing to work with you on that. That's why I asked. Thank you.
Any other commissioners have any particular questions on this, either on the phone or whatever? Mark, do you have anybody?
Mrs. Spanarelli, can you press *6 on your phone? You've been muted. You can press *6 to unmute. I see no questions from the commissioners online at this time.
Okay, we have none there, but I think Commissioner Karcher does.
Just to Sarah, so with regards to the signage, I think this came up fairly recently with another application. So as long as it meets the requirements for size and such, is that okay? I mean, is there a specific reason why you're recommending one over the other?
We typically recommend monument signs, in part given the recommendations of the comprehensive plan, in an effort to limit sign clutter. And we actually did have one with another dollar store that is a monument sign as part of a condition. But if the commission chooses not to add the condition, they can put up a pylon sign in keeping with our sign regulations.
Is the main difference visual-wise, is it height? Is that the...
Primarily.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Well, I know about the proposed motion here. Are we going away from the proposed motion on what's saying here, or are we going with what?
That would be the planning commission's choice. I would agree with the applicant that the architectural recommendation has been satisfied. I appreciate his effort to talk with us today and get that sorted out. With respect to the sign, it is the choice of the planning commission. With respect to the additional access, I know the conversation that my staff had with the applicant today, there was discussion of potentially of not having an interest in connecting with the existing business because there's an incompatibility of uses to the north. But the applicant might be willing to include an easement, so should that lot be redeveloped in the future to something more compatible, they would be willing to connect. I don't know if that is still on the table.
Sarah,
Yeah, this has been stuff, but I did speak to Jason briefly about that. Our concern is, as you mentioned, the easement with the current owner and recording an easement, and they're a material storage yard, and that just opens up a whole can of worms with Dollar General and safety concerns and operational issues and its patrons and pedestrians and et cetera. And Jason and I talked about we could extend the driveway more towards the north to the property line, and then in the event that property did get redeveloped, they could come back to us and or Dollar General and or future landowner to discuss an easement in the future to come through and connect, and that would be their access point. And then on Jonathan's point earlier, our driveway is not designed to accommodate the traffic coming through our entrance, through our driveway to that neighboring parcel to the north. So it just gets into liability issues, and Dollar General connecting to the south makes sense since it's a shopping center where retail use, they play well together. But the current situation, as Jonathan mentioned, it's incompatible uses. It is zoned correctly, but we'd be willing to construct the improvements a little bit further to the north, but we can't commit to executing a cross easement and recording it, and we just can't do that at this time.
Well, I think by your design here with your parking lot, if the future does change, we could always do that. And I think Sarah has a comment on it.
I think it's a completely reasonable compromise to extend those improvements a little bit more to the north so that if in the future we have compatible land uses, it makes it easier to complete that connection. So I think that's a reasonable compromise.
And I think we're all in agreement by designing it as you have, that we never know what 5, 10, 15 years down the line we'll initiate, but I think it's smart to do like we're doing. Does any other commissioners have anything? I think
Agreed, yes.
You had your hand up? No, sir, do you have something else you'd like to say?
No, I was just saying I was going to agree and say yes, we'd be willing to construct a little bit more of the improvements, and the easement could be sorted out way down the road if that compatible use does come to the table.
And commissioners, to close on my, this is Jonathan Street. Again, to close on any of my comments with regard to staff's recommendations, the fourth one is discussed the internal planting island. We went to Board of Adjustment, had the discussion about that. We don't have any problems with staff's recommendation for the internal planting island. We can work through that. That's not a problem. And with regard to the rest of staff's report, I think we're okay. The waiver request being denied for the sidewalk out front is understandable. We're in a level 2. We're in an investment level 2 through DelDOT, so it's very doubtful that DelDOT would even entertain the notion of approving that as well. So we're okay with that. Other than that, I'm still here to take any questions, and Ben, of course, is on the line. I'm sorry I couldn't be there with you tonight. I take great pleasure in speaking publicly, especially in front of the county and the city, and I'm glad we're all back to face-to-face meetings. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, and I'm happy to answer any further questions.
Well, I thank you very much. I think you've answered most of our questions here. If none of the other commissioners have any questions, I think Commissioner Karcher is going to do the motion to the best of her ability, and hopefully with the modification of talking about the sign.
Yeah, please help me along if I don't get it quite right. I move that the Regional Planning Commission grant conditional approval of application S-21-01 Woodside Dollar General, a site plan for a retail store located inside of the Growth Zone Overlay District. This is based on Exhibit A, the staff recommendation report dated July 1, 2021, and the findings of facts that A, the site is Zone BG, general business, in which variety stores are permitted uses per Section 205-169 permitted uses, and B, that the plan is compliant with the comprehensive plan. Pursuant to Chapters 187 and 205 of the King County Code, and pursuant to 9 Delaware Chapter 4802 and 4811, the Commission has reviewed the application and the July 8, 2021 staff recommendation report, and furthermore, as part of this approval, the applicant shall maintain compliance with all requirements and recommendations of the staff recommendation report, including but not limited to that A, the waiver from 187-60 sidewalks requiring frontage and internal access sidewalks is denied. B, the applicant must demonstrate compliance with King County Code 187-79.2 regarding excellent recharge areas prior to final approval. Paving to the lot line of the adjacent parcel to the north, and improvements should improvements be made to the north lot, that this applicant will allow for interconnection, but only if it's applicable to whatever goes to the north. The applicant shall be limited to one detached sign as is built per county code. E, the additional architectural features shall be incorporated on the front facade of the building facing South DuPont Highway, as well as both side facades. The front entryway of the building shall include an entrance feature such as a porch, portico, awning, or other similar feature. The front facade shall also have at least 2 functioning windows on each side of the entrance door, and they should incorporate projecting elements such as eaves, cornices, canopies, projecting bays, shadow lines, and overhangs. The side facades shall include features that break up the long expanses of the blank wall. This could include non-functioning windows with projecting elements or architectural reliefs such as vertical or horizontal offsets in exterior wall elevations, band courses, lintels, and sill courses, cornices, and the like to create shadow lines. Multiple facade materials, which include durable exterior surface materials that complement and are visually compatible with the color, texture, size, and scale of the exterior materials reflected on existing buildings in the vicinity shall be incorporated. Architectural renderings showing the proposed design incorporating these conditions shall be submitted prior to final approval. F, relocate one sunset red maple tree from the oversized corner planting island to the east of the existing planting island located on the eastern side of the parking lot with enough spacing between the trees to facilitate and encourage sustained growth. G, a final plan must be approved within 24 months of preliminary plan approval, and construction shall commence within 18 months of final plan approval in accordance with Chapter 187-41C, or the plan will be considered expired. H, the final plan must meet all requirements of both 187 and 205 of the Kent County Code, and all items in the final plan column of Appendix D of 187.
Thank you, Mrs. Karcher, for the recommendation. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Sarah, call the commission.
Thank you. Before I do that, if I could just clarify the motion.
Please.
With respect in particular to the the adjacent parcel to the north, the intent is still to extend the paving, if not to the property line, at least closer to the property line to
Yes,
enable
thank
connection.
you. Well said. I couldn't have said that.
Thank you. Mr. Peterman,
Yes, to approve.
Mr. Servan,
Yes to approve as per staff recommendation.
Mrs. Karcher,
Yes, to approve. I've just got to say, when I opened up this particular paperwork, it fell open to the back page with the big white, beige box, I guess I would call this. And I had memories of a certain other, much larger store many years ago. So I'm so glad it's going to look so nice.
Mr. Mills,
Yes to approve.
Mr. Spanarelli,
Mrs. Spanarelli, if you're on the line, please press *6 to unmute your phone.
Mr. Davis,
Yes, to approve, and I want to welcome them to the neighborhood. I have property directly across the road from them, and I'm really happy about the entrance off of 13. That makes me very happy, because I think it's going to help the traffic congestion at the intersection itself. So I certainly support this 100%. Thank you.
Mr. Spanarelli,
Yes to approve.
Mr. Jester.
Yes to approve, and I certainly thank them for improving the looks of the building. I don't know about the location of the store. My wife loves dollar stores, and I don't know if that's going to hurt me more or not, but I'll get back with you on that in a later time. Yes to approve.
Sir, you have 7 yeas in favor of granting conditional approval of application S2101.
Thank you very much, and good luck with your project.
Commissioners,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Next on the agenda tonight is application number and title. It's S-21-02, King Cove Farms. Applicant, McCrone Ryan Conway, 119 West Naylor Mill Road, Suite 6, Salisbury, Maryland, 21801. Owner, Sally Draper Dickerson. Care of James Ross Dickerson, P.O. Box 386, Little Creek, Delaware, 19961. Engineer is McCrone Ryan Conway, 119 West Naylor Mill Road, Suite 6, Salisbury, Maryland, 21801. Present comprehensive plan map designation is low-density residential. Present zoning district is AC, agriculture conservation. Relationship to the gross zone is outside. Present use is residential agriculture. Proposed use is wedding venue. Proposed building size is 9,066 square feet. Number of parking spaces, required 91, proposed 91. Water is on-site well. Sewer is on-site septic. Levy Court District is the third, Mr. Angel. School District is Caesar Rodney. Fire District is Little Creek Station 54. Area and location, 51.66 plus or minus acres located on the east side of Bayside Drive, Delaware Route 9, approximately 0.61 plus or minus miles south of Pickering Beach Road, Kent County Road 349, east of Dover. Is there either somebody here or someone on the phone to represent this application? Yes, sir. Come down and give your name and your address.
My name's Ryan Conway. I'm the engineer on this project from Macron.
Thank you very much, sir. While you're standing there, I'm going to ask the commissioners first before you get into a small presentation. Do you have any beginning questions for this gentleman, or you want him to go ahead with a small and brief presentation? We'll let you go ahead with your brief presentation.
So there's an existing pole barn on the site already, and the applicant, Jim Dickerson, wishes to retrofit the barn into a wedding venue. He wants to add a little enclosed sunroom off the north end of it to open up to a landscape area where there's fire pits and everything for seating. After the wedding commences, he's hoping to just have weddings and special occasions for the weekends, everything like that. We have DelDOT approval, we have fire marshal approval, and we have the Kent County Conservation District approval already. We're widening the existing driveway for 20 feet to allow fire marshal in case there's any fires on here. We are adding paved parking and a turnaround for handicap accessibility, and we're also adding additional parking to the north for geoblock pavers, so it's just going to be a grass to help with drainage issues and everything like that. Other than that, do you guys have any questions for me? That's what we're trying to do.
Are you okay with the recommendations?
Yes. The only thing is we can get a signed agreement to allow the dumpster on the neighboring property unless you guys definitely want it within our site. But we have no issue with the gravel area on the neighboring property. We can definitely remove that and kick it onto our side.
Sir, if we do go ahead with something like that, can the county be able to handle that?
The only time it ever becomes an issue is if some portion of the property ends up in different ownership. Right now, when it's in the same ownership, it's not the big of a deal. Our concern is always if ownership changes.
That's understood. Any commissioners have any other questions for this gentleman or on the phone? Mr. Mills?
This is the farm where Chet and Sally Dickerson lived, and it's their home place.
Yes, yep, that's where the turnaround to the south is. That's their main residence.
And it's
right
a
there.
building that they built just here a few years ago, the pole barn they used for a machine shop.
I don't know what the current use for the pole barn is, but I know it's existing.
It was. They're not there now, but.
Right.
Okay, it's where the brick house.
Correct, yes.
Right, up the long lane. I got it. I was good friends with them people.
Yeah, they're very nice people.
Any other commissioners? You said that you wouldn't have a problem if we do go ahead with the relocation of the...
No, we can relocate it somewhere else just make sure that the dumpster can have proper access to turnaround. We would
anytime they're over property lines like that or things like that, we always like to see those things straightened out because you never know what'll happen.
Yeah, we would probably locate it to the south of the main entrance to the pole barn.
Any other commissioners have any questions? If not, I thank you very much, and I'll call the questions to the commissioners. We have ready for a motion. Is there somebody who'd like to make a motion on this particular project? Yeah. Mr. Mills.
I move that the Regional Planning Commission grant conditional approval of the application S-21-02 King Cole Farms, a site plan for a wedding venue located outside the Growth Zone Overlay District. This is based on Exhibit A, staff recommendation report dated July the 1st, 2021, and the findings of the facts that The site is Zone AC, that's Agriculture Conservation District, in which a wedding venue in conjunction with an agriculture use is permitted uses per section 205-47. Permitted use and 9 Del C 4901, and the plan is compliant with a comprehensive plan. Pursuant to Chapter 187 and 205 of the Kent County Code and pursuant to the 9 Del C 4802 and 4811, the Commission has reviewed the application and the July 8, 2021 staff recommendation report, and furthermore, as part of this approval, the applicant shall maintain compliance with all requirements and recommendations of the staff recommendation reports, including but not limited to: A, the proposed drive aisle, loading zone, and dumpster enclosure either cross property lines or are located on entirely separate properties. Each shall be relocated to subject parcels and incorporated into the subject parcel by way of a lot line adjustment. B, a final plan must be approved within 24 months of preliminary plan approval, and construction shall commence within 18 months of final plan approval in accordance with 187-41.C, or the plan will be considered expired. C, the final plan must meet all requirements of both 187 and 205 of the Kent County Code and all items in the final plan column of Appendix D of 187.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please call the commission, Sarah.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Servon?
Yes to approve.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes to approve. Having lived near the prison up in Smyrna, past it actually, the only thing that worries me are the flies and the mosquitoes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Spanarelli?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Davis?
Yes, very happy to approve this. I go by that farm many, many times, and it's just a very beautiful setting up on that road, and they maintain it so well. So I'm very happy to say yes to the motion for the maker of the motion and the staff recommendation. Thank you.
Mr. Jester?
Yes to approve.
So you have 7 yeas in favor of granting conditional approval of application S2102.
Thank you very much, and good luck with your project. Our sixth and final application tonight under new business is actually SL-04-09, revised Corsi's Point. Request revisions to the open space improvements / landscape plan located inside the growth zone overlay district. Is there someone here to represent this application? Please come up to the mic, please. Give your name and your address.
Hi, good evening. I'm Kevin Brosna from Lewis, Delaware.
Thank you very much, sir. I guess you've read all the recommendations and all like that. And the staff recommendations, do you agree with them?
We do have some comments on the staff recommendations, yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead with your brief comments.
Thank you. So we've been working, I work for the developer, Corsi's Point Development LLC, and we've purchased a portion of Corsi's Point development. The community existed, it was developed about 15 years ago, and there were about 88 existing units in there when we purchased the development. We purchased, at that time, 65 lots within one of the phases. And as part of that purchase, we took over the development of those specific lots and the roads associated with those lots. There were still an additional 50 lots beyond those 65 that Corsi's Point Development LLC did not purchase. After the original purchase, we had been contacted by planning and zoning that there had been an outstanding preliminarily approved landscape plan that was on file at the county, but did not have a record of a final approved landscape plan associated with the project. And over throughout 2020, this started, we were notified back in January of 2020 of this preliminary approved landscape plan. And then throughout 2020, we worked back and forth with planning and zoning at looking at options of how we could assist in implementing components of that landscape plan, because we did not own the original portion of the community. There was a lot of existing residents in there that it would be impacting. There's active open space areas that were only located within the original portion of the development. So again, we didn't own the HOA. We weren't the declarant for the original portion of the community. However, being in there, we took an active role in working with the residents in those initial sections to identify opportunities to help implement some of these measures that were in that preliminary plan. The preliminary plan does reference River Run Estates. It doesn't reference Corsi's Point, so I'm not really sure the evolution of where a final plan may have been, if there is another final plan. Regardless, we took the components that were on that River Run Estate version and have been working to identify ways of incorporating those into the phases that we own. We met with the residents, showed them the locations of the proposed active open space areas in the original phase of the community, and solicited their feedback whether or not they wanted those components to be within their backyard. Some of the proposals showed active open space in the rear yards or the common areas behind the existing homes. And the proposals were paved pathways and park benches that would go in their backyards or what they perceived as their backyards. Many of the residents did not want that. We actually met with the residents through through annual HOA meeting last year, worked with them, proposed a waiver to them for those and some recommendations for alternative amenities. And out of the 88 residents that existed at the time, we had only 33 of them actually participated in responding. This community has a very low HOA amount or budget. They only collect $100 annually from the residents. It's not very well represented. However, while we saw this going on, we worked with the residents, created a finance committee within the HOA, and are looking at the budget amounts that they had for 2019, 2020, budgets for 2021. We've been looking at ways of increasing some of the HOA fees to help address some of the shortfalls in the community that have been going on. But keeping in mind that it is a low dollar amount for the HOA fees, we've been looking at what impact it would have in placing the additional active open space amenities in the community and what that would do to their the funds in the future. The residents, none of the residents that we met with during the HOA were aware that there were even these amenities required or that they were supposed to go in there. In the responses to the petition that we had sent out, the majority, 29 out of the 33 responses that we had gotten, were in favor of the waiver to eliminate the designs that were on that preliminary plan, and were in favor of the recommendation that we had put forward of moving park benches along the existing sidewalks in the community and along the future sidewalks that we're going to be putting in the community. It made them a little bit more accessible, didn't put the amenities in people's backyards, just put them into areas that existed. And we're in favor of that portion of the recommendation moving forward with the park benches along the sidewalks. One of the other features of that preliminary plan, though, was also a 40 by 40 pavilion that went into an open space in the back portion. Corsi's Point Development LLC at the time did not own that phase of the community, so we couldn't have the conversation about how that area would be handled or developed. Since then, middle to early this year, we purchased that additional phase, and now we're in discussions with the community about whether or not that pavilion is something that makes sense for them. The preliminary conversations with the community are the pavilion is, one, going to take down additional trees, which is what we're actually trying to do. Opposite with this is preserve trees in the community. So it's taking down additional trees, putting a costly amenity in the community for the community to maintain in the future. Even at the reduced size of 20 by 20 instead of 40 by 40, it is still quite an expense for a low HOA fee community. And we provided some alternatives in there of park benches. We submitted a proposed plan showing five picnic tables with 2 horseshoe pits, which would be more of an lower cost to maintain, but still an active amenity for people to use in the community. It would be able to be incorporated within the trees, minimal impact to that area. We do agree with the recommendation of using a paved pathway leading out to that area. Just from a safety standpoint, ADA compliance standpoint, we'd be happy to do that. But from a low impact with the goal of preserving trees in the community, keeping the low cost of maintenance down for the community, and providing an active feature for people to use, that was the recommendation and what's been worked on with the community. I know there's a lot of information there, but if you guys have any questions.
To put a synopsis on what you're talking about,
Yes.
and Sarah, what the staff had recommended with the 2 under the suggested motion. So it's actually different. You don't have a problem with the crushed gravel path and delineation between the lots 81 and 2?
No, we don't have, well, we had proposed the crushed gravel, and I think planning and zoning had asked for a paved pathway instead.
Right.
And I think it's mostly
Well, I'm just
due to
trying to
safety.
clarify
Yes,
what
sir.
you said
Yep.
and what staff recommended. But Sarah, on the 2020 by pavilion, would you like to comment on that?
Ultimately, it's the determination of the Planning Commission. The horseshoe pits and the picnic tables, we weren't persuaded that that met the intent of the ordinance. At the same time, we want the active improvements to be what the community at the end of the day wants. So it is entirely at the discretion of the Planning Commission at this point.
Because it looks like we're going to be redefining the suggested motion.
Yes.
Because the HOA has set such a low standard on their $100 per lot per year. I guess they got to do their mowing and their snow removal with that. So does any of the commissioners have comments or have anything to say about this? Because it looks like we're changing the entire suggested motion, basically, on the second part.
The second part, yes, yeah, the first part of the gravel pathway going to paved is accepted, and we're in agreement that makes sense from an access standpoint.
Would it be acceptable in a motion like this, eliminating the 2020, and just put in the second part of the motion that staff is willing to work with the new owners of the development to come up with a suitable use between the owners and the staff, or how would we word it?
I would leave it, if the Planning Commission is satisfied with the proposal of horseshoe pits and picnic tables, then don't comment on it at all. Simply approve what they're suggesting. Then the only condition on the motion would be that the accessway would be paved and delineated by fencing, so that it's very clear it's public space, not private space.
Well, I'm not the only commissioner here tonight. I'd like to hear some comments from the others and what they think. Anybody here have any comment on it? If they want to go with the horseshoe pits and all like that, would that be acceptable? Denise, go ahead.
Well, we have no ability to change their yearly HOA fees. So if they can't even afford it, would it be the developer that would be putting in the pavilion
Yeah, it would be, the developer would be the one paying for the pavilion, but the HOA would be obviously responsible through their capital contributions for the ongoing maintenance down the road.
Okay, thank you.
And just to that point, the original budgets for 2019 and 2020 were already, with their $100 fees, were already in shortfalls, being able to keep up with the maintenance in the community. So we've been working with their finance committee to identify incremental increases. So we are working with them to increase the HOA fees, but this is still going to be a low HOA fee community.
Well, it sounds like they really need to work on that because the future is the future and things are going to continually go up. So they're going to have to sustain that at some level. Does the commissioners on the phone have anything to say about this? Okay, hearing none. Hearing none, our best motion maker, Mrs. Karcher here, I'm sure can be able to put a motion in place that you and the HOA will be happy with. So Dee Dee, I will put it to you to make the motion for this particular, if you have nothing else to present.
No, thank you.
Okay, Sarah?
Perhaps if Commissioner Karcher would like a hand in how to make the motion. Leave the second item off. That's all.
Denise?
Okay. I move that the Regional Planning Commission grant approval of the landscaping plan waiver and modified approval of the revisions to SL-04-09 Corsi's Point, modifying the open space improvements to those shown on the plan submitted by the applicant with the following modification: that the crushed gravel path should be paved or concrete and be delineated by either a split rail fence or landscaping back to the opening behind lots 81 and 82. This is based upon the findings that revisions are being targeted towards the needs of the current residents, that they may reduce the maintenance costs for the homeowners association, and that this modification does not substantially change the character of the initial approval of the project.
Thank you, Denise. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Please call the commission. Thank you.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes, to approve.
Mr. Servon?
Yes for approval.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes, to approve. I think that the best that we can hope for is the residents at some point say we want more, and then that's their duty and it's their requirement to pay fees.
Mr. Mills?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Spanarelli?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Davis?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Jester?
Yes to approve.
So we have 7 yeas in favor of granting a modified approval to the active recreation open space for Corsi's Point.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your presentation, and good luck with your project.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
We're now moving down to the election of officers. Being the first one is chairperson, I am now going to step aside and turn the gavel over to Mr. Davis, Vice.
Me neither.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This time, we open up the nominations for the chairman of the Canton County Regional Planning Commission. Somebody like to make a motion at this time?
I'll make a motion to nominate Mr. Bill Juster for chairman.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that the nomination for Mr. Bill Juster as chairman. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Since no other nominations, those motions are closed. Chairman, turn it back to you.
I guess I need to thank you, commissioners. I don't know. We'll see what happens in the next year as we proceed through this. Next on the elections is the vice chairman. Presently, it's Mr. Paul Davis. Do I have any nominations from the floor?
I nominate Paul Davis for vice chairman.
Second.
I have a nomination of Paul Davis and a second. Is there any more nominations? Is there any more nominations? If not, Mr. Davis is elected and nominations are closed. Moving down to public comment. Is there any additional public comment from ones in the audience? Here's that stranger. Hadn't been here for months. Now he wants to come to the mic twice in 2 weeks. I don't know.
I just missed you guys so much.
You want to give your name and your address, sir?
Boyd White, 164 Winter Circle, Magnolia, Delaware, 19962. I just
Right
got a
ahead.
couple odd questions. The other day when I was fooling around on the map with the county, looking at the Peachtree property that's up for the rezoning, I noticed that the corner of Susan Comegys' property, which also gups up against Fox Chase, was also designated as red for commercial. Was that a mistake? I mean, does anybody know about that? How did that get that way? Guess it's a question for Sarah.
Sarah, do you have a comment?
I'm happy to discuss it with you tomorrow if you'd like to go through the maps.
Okay. Second question. The medical marijuana place that's opening up in Canterbury, is that a first permitted use? Is it in the county's property? Will they be coming to the county, or what goes on with that?
Permitted by right.
Pardon me?
It is permitted by right.
Yeah, that's what kind of I thought, because the bank was a, yep, okay. And then the last question is, do we have any idea when the seating will be open to all instead of the saran wrap on so many seats, or is that up to levy court?
I suspect when the governor's executive order expires, then the administration will open up the building altogether.
Okay, that were my questions.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure to see you. Now moving down to commissioner comments. Does any of the commissioners, either on the phone or here, have any comments? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes, to adjourn.
Mr. Servon?
Yes to adjourn.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes, to adjourn.
Mr. Mills?
Yes.
Mr. Spanarelli? Mr. Spanarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes. Thank you all, and tonight's meeting is closed.
Sarah, you want these plots in the box over for you? You put them in the box? All right, thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thanks for using WebEx. Visit our website at www.webex.com.
You might have a site plan review. It's a done deal then. You just say, hey,